She was about to fall asleep. It had been a long day, another set, another scene, another version of herself that the cameras wanted. Demet Özdemir lay on her side, her fingers loosely wrapped around the edge of her pillow, breathing slow and steady. The windows were open just enough to let in the sound of the city at night, distant horns, the faint hum of life, and the quiet rhythm of her thoughts. And then, her phone rang. At first, she thought it was a dream. But no, there it was, glowing beside her bed, buzzing slightly against the wooden table. She opened her eyes slowly, confused, then alarmed. Who would call at this hour? She reached for the phone. No name. No number. Just private caller. Her breath caught in her throat. There was no reason for it, no logic behind the sudden spike in her pulse, but something about it felt familiar. Too familiar. She stared at the screen for a second, then 2, then 5. It kept ringing. She didn't want to answer. But she did. Hello? There was a pause. Then, a voice. Demet? It was him. That voice she hadn't heard in years, and yet, she had never forgotten it. The tone, the rhythm, even the way he said her name, it was all the same. Can. Her heart felt like it had been dropped from a rooftop. Her body went cold. She sat upright in bed as if waking from a bad dream, but this wasn't a dream. It was real. And he had called. After everything. After all this time. He spoke again. I know I shouldn't have called. But I didn't know who else to talk to. And just like that, the past came flooding in. Every memory. Every silent goodbye. Every almost that had never turned into a forever. She didn't say anything. She couldn't. How could she speak when the voice that once meant the world to her was suddenly whispering into the quiet of her night again? Ken continued. I was going to hang up, but then you answered. And now I don't know what to do. Demet closed her eyes, trying to breathe through the whirlwind of emotions that had suddenly taken over her chest. What's going on, Ken? The way she said his name, it was soft, unsure, but still, familiar. Too familiar. He sighed. She could hear him struggling to find the right words. And even now, even in the middle of this confusing, painful moment, she could still picture his eyes when he got like this. When words failed him. When emotions were stronger than logic. I saw something, he finally said. Something I shouldn't have. Demet frowned. What do you mean? It was a photo. Of us. From years ago. Someone sent it to me. I don't even know who. But, it was from that night. You remember the hotel? After the awards? She did. How could she forget? That night had been magic. The lights, the laughter, the way they held hands under the table so no one would notice. The way they walked into the hotel lobby separately but ended up in the same room, sharing dreams until dawn. I remember, she whispered. He paused again. It broke me, he said. Seeing that photo. Not because of the memory. But because I realized I've been pretending to be okay. And I'm not. Demet's eyes burned. It wasn't fair. They had both moved on. Or at least tried to. She had gone on to build a life, a career, friendships, even moments of happiness. But nothing had ever come close to what she felt with him. And maybe, he felt the same. I don't know what you want me to say, she admitted. Ken let out a soft laugh. Not from joy. From sadness. I don't want anything. I just wanted to hear your voice. Once. To know you're still there. That I didn't imagine all of it. Demet bit her lip, trying not to cry. You didn't imagine it. That silence between them, it wasn't empty. It was filled with everything they couldn't say. He spoke again. I went back to the set of our first show last week. You know the studio is still there? The same walls. The same corners. Everything's changed, and yet nothing has. She smiled sadly. I haven't been there in years. You should see it. It's like stepping back into a life that doesn't belong to you anymore. And maybe that was the truth about them. They belonged to a time. A season. A heartbeat that had its moment and then disappeared. But now here they were. In two different lives, on opposite ends of a phone call they both knew shouldn't have happened. Why now? Demet asked suddenly. Why call me now, after all this time? There was a beat of silence. And then, Ken said the words she didn't expect. Because I still love you. Her breath caught. The weight of it. The honesty. The pain. It wasn't like the love you read about in magazines. It wasn't glamorous or polished. It was raw. Messy. Real. The kind of love that leaves fingerprints on your soul. I thought you moved on, she whispered. I thought I did too, he said. But I lied. I've been lying to myself for years. She didn't know what to say. Because deep down, she hadn't truly moved on either. Sure, she smiled for cameras. She laughed with friends. She posted pictures. She showed up. But inside, in the quiet moments before sleep, there was always a space that felt empty. A space only he had ever filled. Do you remember what you said the last time we saw each other? She asked. He hesitated. I told you to forget me. She nodded. And I told you I'd try. And did you? She swallowed hard. No. Silence again. But it wasn't heavy. It was gentle. Like a lullaby from the past. I'm sorry, Ken said. For everything. For leaving. For not calling. For disappearing when you needed me most. Demet closed her eyes. A single tear slid down her cheek. I needed to hear that. She meant it. Because for years, she had been carrying questions like stones in her chest. Why did he leave? Why didn't he say goodbye properly? Why did it all fall apart when it was just beginning? Now she had her answer. He had been broken too. And sometimes, people disappear not because they want to hurt you, but because they don't know how to stay. Do you think we could ever go back? He asked quietly. She thought about it. About the years. The wounds. The healing. The person she had become. No, she said softly. But maybe, we could go forward. He didn't respond right away. Then, I'd like that. She smiled through her tears. So would I. They talked for hours after that. Not about love. Not about pain. Just life. Where they'd been. Who they'd become. The dreams that changed. The ones that stayed. And when the sun began to rise, he said, "Thank you for picking up." And she said, "Thank you for calling." Then, the line went dead. But for once, it didn't feel like an ending. It felt like a beginning. Or maybe just closure. And as Demet put her phone down and looked out the window, she realized something. Some people never really leave your story. They just wait for the right chapter. And maybe, just maybe, that chapter had finally begun.